Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome again to another week of Hour of Healing. Again, I am Candace. I'm here with Dr. Joe. And today we are going to discuss something that is so intriguing. It's right in my alley. I love topics like this, because it's about human interaction, human relation. It gives us the practicality of life. So we are going to talk about that. But before we begin, or before I put it out, I'm going to welcome Dr. Joe in.
Thank you so much, Sister Candace, for having me again today. We are grateful to God for His grace and mercies that He makes available to us day in and day out. Dear listeners, we are so thankful and grateful that you are here another week. We know it's going to be a powerful, powerful section. Trust me, we are growing in grace, and I believe we will be blessed and we will be healed. So buckle up, strap up, and let's get started.
That is all good, Dr. Joe. But I just want to ask Dr. Joe, how is he doing? I know you guys are wondering. How are you doing, Dr. Joe? This whole week, everything was smooth, smooth. We don't, we want to take all of you. So right now, so we want to know if, everything, wife, kids, everything is smooth going, before we dive in and, drain you out.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Candace. And by God's grace, wife, kids, family are doing very good. And
Yes.
as a matter of fact, just before we got on this call, I was on a phone call with a friend of mine who I would say we were both called into ministry together in the early days of our secondary school.
Oh,
This is like some maybe 20 years ago at this
wow.
point, and we still have contact. And I was talking with him, and by the grace of God, he was sharing a few things that God has spoken to him concerning his mandate for my life, his
Wow.
calling for my life. And it was just a powerful conversation. And so I'm excited, I'm geared up,
That's
and I'm
good.
fired up.
That is so good. Because listening to that, I'm thinking to myself, well, he's motivated.
Yes,
So
I
he was
am.
on a call that motivated him. So
Yes.
now, he's motivated to give us all that he has. So, we thank God for that. God bless you, Dr. Joe. But viewers, so today's topic is going to be based on who is for you. And this can mean so many, I hear people all the time like, oh, they ain't for me. They're not on my side. But we want to throw it back to Dr. Joe, like, who is for you? Like, in what concept? We don't want to assume anything here. So what do you mean by who is for you?
Yes, thank you, Sister Candace. And you are right that it's a phrase that we hear often, or a question that sometimes is posed. But what we will be kind of addressing today, we live in an era and in a time where individualism is hailed, individualism is celebrated. And so, as I sat down and I thought about the various things that come with individualism, the good, the bad, the in between, I started asking myself, who do we do life with?
Mm?
Do we think is still important in an era, in a time where the individualism of people are more celebrated than at any time in history? Do we still value who we do life with?
Mm.
And so that's kind of what stirred up the whole this whole
Yeah.
topic in the first place. Because when we talk about individualism, we're talking about emphasizing personal autonomy,
Right.
which in the western part of the world, I think is at an all-time high. Emphasizing self-reliance, the pursuit of individual goals and interests. And these are all good
Right.
to some extent. But if you don't take care, you will take this idea of promoting self-reliance and individual achievement and promoting self-interest to mean that it has to be the norm. And that is what we see Western society gradually creeping towards. And so today is kind of one of those reset points that by the grace of God we are able to from time to time hit on is one of those three set points, and that is doing life alone may not be the best, and that's what we'll be talking about.
So, in other words, it's like saying me, myself, and I. We are in the era. We are in
Uh,
the era where we are literally thinking me, myself, and I. But I think it's safe to say that we should all know, or we all know that we can't do things alone,
mm.
right? We need a team. We need people. Now, is this going to be based on knowing the right people to build that team with, or must you stand alone? But my whole thing is, how can you even do anything alone in that concept of me, myself, and I?
Yeah, so it's actually not that difficult when you
Okay.
actually think about it, because when people stress on the idea of me, myself, and I, what you have to realize is they are basically trying to place emphasis on their uniqueness, their personal achievements, their
Mhm.
individual
Question.
independence, their individual abilities or sufficiency. So it's actually not very difficult for that, because the truth of the matter is, for any team to function at its optimum best, you
Okay.
need the individuals in the team to function at their optimum. For
Mhm.
any team to achieve the team's potential, you need every member of that team to be working at their potential or at close to the peak of their potential. But what happens sometimes is that when people get to the point where they are scratching the peak of their potential, they are scratching the surface of it, we tend to see that people say, okay, if I'm able to do this by myself,
Mhm.
then maybe I can continue alone.
Oh.
So that is one aspect of it. The other
Okay.
aspect that we'll be looking at is what you alluded to, and that is who are the kinds of people that we team up with to accomplish what goals, setting goals. By the grace of God, I pray that we'll be able to touch on this, that you will realize that specific things in our lives require specific relationships,
Mhm.
specific agendas,
Mhm.
visions,
Mhm.
dreams require specific things or relationships that we need. And if we lack s- some of those relationships, we will be found wanting, regardless of how equipped or
Yeah.
prepared we are ourselves.
That is so powerful, and it's kind of hitting me to the core. It's hitting home. And when I was listening, I was just thinking to myself that even for the person to even act in their optimum best, I think it requires one to know their potential, basically.
Correct.
Because if you don't know your potential, what are you scratching on? What
Mhm.
are you trying to, what expectation have you set for yourself? But like we mentioned before, me, myself, and I know society has that a lot. Like now we have that concept. Is individualism a bad thing? Like, is this something that we should try to deter from? And I know you alluded to it in the sense of somehow we need that feeling or we need that sense. But when is it not right, I should say?
Mm, mm. Powerful question, Sister Candice. And there are both strengths and weaknesses, or pros and cons to individualism, because the issue with individualism really becomes more pronounced when you look at how people want to lay or burden society with their individual goals and their individual desires or achievements or successes. So let's talk about the pro. The pro for promoting individualism really is it helps build a resilient society. When you have that mindset of individualism, you are able to build self confidence. So your self esteem grows. Your individual contribution to the society grows. You don't become a menace to society when you buy into this mindset, because you do everything to be able to keep yourself up. so to speak. One of the things that comes with individualism is confidence. And when confidence is there, you always strive to be your best. So, in that
Mhm.
sense, it's a positive thing, it's a good thing.
Okay.
But the con or the weaknesses or the negative aspects comes in when we talk about the areas that we tend to see people be less supportive of societies. That socially their
Mhm.
support levels go down because if it's not going to benefit me, then
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything about it. And so we become a bit self centered. Unfortunately, it also leads to pride in some situations because the confidence, there is something as overconfidence. That the confidence in the success that we are able to enjoy sometimes leads to overconfidence. And so it leads to pride. It also leads to lack of cooperation. That people begin to think that they can do things all by themselves.
Mm.
And so I know that's not the core of our conversation today, but you realize that when people are doing life alone, they turn to uh, uh, look down on other people who have not been able to pull themselves
Mm.
by their own straps, per se. They look down on others, thinking that if you put in a little effort, if you have stayed in school a little longer, if you have studied a little longer,
Because I did it.
yes, because I did that. Thank you. But the truth is, it's not always that way. So I always have a saying that I say that people study more than some of us do. So the fact that we have achieved some levels of success in academics doesn't mean that we actually study more than others. Yes, there is a role for discipline, but the fact that you have achieved success doesn't mean that someone who hasn't achieved success is not disciplined or they don't study hard enough. I know some people who are very diligent students, but they just, for one reason or the other, which we're not going to go into, for one reason or the other, they can't perform when they need to perform. So those are all part of the negative aspects or the cons that come with an individualistic society. And that's why we will be talking today about who really you do life with rather than the doing life alone by yourself.
Wow, that's very profound. And I was just thinking to myself because confidence is needed, and a
Absolutely.
person with confidence, like you said, wants to give their best, or whatever they are doing, they want to do it in a way that does not. I guess they want to give excellence. They don't want it to be something that undermines the confidence in them,
Hmm.
right? So that is very powerful. So I hope all listeners, viewers out there. Now we know what not to do and the pros and the cons. So, we can check off certain things and heal from ourselves and grow and mature. But I want us to get right into the kind of people that we should do life with if we are stepping into who is for us. How do we even identify the one that is for us? And I know you said something about depending on the situation or whatever position or wherever you are going in life, that's what calls for the kinds of people that. So, if you can expand on that, so we know who is for us. Should we have
Yeah.
a general, like, because if I'm, say, for example, if I want to be a doctor, should I
Hmm.
just think doctors are all, I have to have doctor friends, or these are the kind of people I need to build team with, doctors or people that have that same doctorate mindset, or there should be a general thing? I think I asked 2 3 questions, but
We will try to answer them one at a time. We start really with who is for you. When we talk about what is your vision, Sister Candace, vision is a
okay.
very powerful thing in life. Without vision, we err, we take a lot of missteps. Without vision, we waste a lot of. Without vision, energy is not conserved. So having a vision is really the foundation to knowing who has to be for you or who has to be on your side.
Okay.
You cannot just get up one day and say, I want to do life and I need someone to do life with. You know, for you to even go into marriage, I remember when I wasn't married, and I used to talk with a lot of young people and even people who were much older than me about marriage and things of that nature. One of the things that I always talked about is know where you are going before you get married. Not the person you're going to get married to, but know what your destiny is.
Okay.
Know or have an idea of what God has for your life. Because really, a vision, having a vision, is having a pictorial representation of the thoughts and the plans of God for your life. That's really what a vision is.
Yeah.
And so, if you don't have any vision, you don't have an idea the thoughts and the plans of God for your life is. So, Sister Candace, think about it this way: that you have a lot of raw materials that is before you, and you say, I want to build something. Without knowing what you want to build, how do you know
It's of
what
no use.
material to start with?
Mhm.
All right. So it always has to start with vision. And
Okay.
vision requires knowledge. Knowledge in the sense that you need to know the circumstances or the what your vision brings. Knowledge will tell you that if you have a big vision, then your preparation has to be
Big.
taken very seriously. The reason why I think individualism becomes an enemy of our ability to excel is that individualism actually promotes the freedom of choice, which in itself shouldn't make it difficult for us to be able to choose who is for us and who is not for us. But with individualism, we don't take the time to invest in the knowledge component about the person that we want to be part of us.
Mm.
And so we end up with our life vision trying to do everything that will bring about the vision by ourselves rather than asking ourselves, this is the vision I have for my life. Now, who do I need to be able to get there? And that is where I think your example about if you want to be a doctor, for instance,
Right.
there are many doctors who will tell you this. And as a matter of fact, I do advise a lot of young people who, when I'm talking to them, they say, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a nurse. One of the first things I tell them is during your education through high school or college, do something in the health field. Get into the health field. Know what the health field is about. Because you will find out that what you read and what you see sometimes are miles apart. What you read about nursing, what you read about the practice of medicine, and what doctors actually do, yes, in theory is the same, but there is a human component that no writing, no theory can factor. And so, yes, you want to be a nurse, you want to take care of people, that's great. We need a lot of those. But no book will tell you how to handle an angry mom when their child is sick. So, one funny thing that I always said about pediatrics when we were training is I love pediatrics. I love the kids. It's their parents that I cannot stand.
Oh, they are hell.
And so, if I want to do pediatrics, I have to know, I have to have the knowledge
Tolerate the parent.
about what the parent component is. And so that is where it starts from. So that will answer the second question that you need to surround yourself sometimes, not always, with like-minded people. But that's not the end all be all. Having or surrounding yourself with like-minded people is also, but what you also need is not only like-minded people, but destiny fulfilling people.
Okay.
Because you will find that not everybody who is like-minded is for you. And that is a mistake that sometimes we make. We think that because people are like-minded, they are for our vision. But that is not
Mm-hmm.
so. You may have very similar vision with someone. You may both want to become entrepreneurs, but the fact that you both have the same vision doesn't mean they are for your success. And so if you end up teaming up with such a person, I'm sorry to say that you may get to a point where they will not support your dream. And so you need to know that. And so I think I've covered maybe all three questions. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I will turn it over. So if you have any questions,
No, but I was just thinking about, so um if a person is for you, doesn't mean the person that is for you is a vision supporter, or just, I'm asking this question in the sense of, because if we both have a mindset of entrepreneurship, right? And I find out, okay, Dr. Joe has that same mindset, and I draw near to Dr. Joe, right? Maybe he wants me to support him. So
exactly.
is that where the conflict starts, that they are not for me? Is someone being, I don't know if you understand my question. If is someone being for us means they are there to support or to push our success or to push our vision and stuff like that. I don't know.
So that's actually something that is worth clarifying, because there are two main ways that people come to you. I believe it was one of our previous recordings that I said people don't just come, people are called. So when people come to you, the question you need to ask yourself is, are
Wow.
they coming to me because they are in support of my vision, or they are coming to me because they are in support of me, my personality, who I am? It's very different. And
Oh.
unfortunately, we run into situations where people talk about people being disloyal to them because of this misunderstanding.
Mm.
People supporting your vision doesn't mean they support you as a person, because you can get to a point where your vision and your personality don't agree. And at
Mm-mm-mm.
that time, whoever is for your vision will continue to support the vision, even if it means they should leave you. It's very important.
We have to say
Sister
hallelujah
Candace,
on this.
no, Sister Candace, this is very, very important,
It's so crucial.
because if my personality doesn't fit with the vision anymore, whoever is for my vision will continue to support the vision, but they
Far
will not
away.
support. Yes, they will not support my personality. And so
Mm.
at that time, I shouldn't sit and say that that person is disloyal.
Mm.
It's very crucial.
I need to snap
Whoever
on
is
that.
for me and not for my vision will continue to support my vision as long as my vision and my personality are congruent. Well, if it gets to a point where my vision and my personality juxtapose each other, whoever is for me will still remain supportive of me, not my vision.
Now I I feel like, so should that be a conversation like when the people come, right? When we draw to these people, okay, in my mindset, this person is for me, right? I
Okay.
don't have this concept. I mean, of course we are learning. This is hour of
Mm-hmm.
healing. But I may not know what you are saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at what point though, like I I feel like, should there be a conversation? Like, are you with me? Like, because I'm your friend, or are you with me because of what I'm
Of the
trying to do?
vision or the anointing on my life.
Right? Should there be a, like, should that be an open conversation? Do you think?
Not necessarily. I don't think there has to be like a conversation per se. But when people come to us, their actions tells us what they came for. I truly believe that, because I've seen this played out in my own life.
The
Uh, I-
observation is
yes, because as a leader, when people come to you, it's your mandate to learn the people who have come to you,
to
because
study them.
people are called to, and honestly, as a second, people are called to support our personality. They are called burden bearers. Those
Mhm.
people don't come for our vision. They come to
Okay.
bear our burdens. And so a burden bearer will move mountains to make sure you are okay. A
Hmm.
burden bearer will move mountains to make sure that your children are fed and they are picked up from school, whilst
Mhm.
you do
Whatever you
business,
have to.
whilst you continue to advance the vision. So a burden bearer, for instance, is not someone who is necessarily for your vision. They can
Okay.
also be for your vision, but their primary goal is to be
First.
for you as a person.
So now, if you change, do if they
now,
you that they
now,
are full.
now you're trying to get me in trouble, huh?
No, because, I like everything to be, I like to get so deep.
so
Like I'm very nosy, or
yeah,
how do you say
so
it? Eccentric.
the truth is a burden bearer, when you change, doesn't necessarily leave.
You,
They leave at a point when you begin to contradict their role in your life.
your
Because,
actions
yes,
contradict.
so let me give you an example. So let's say you are a minister and a burden bearer is assigned to your life.
Mm-hmm.
The burden bearer's job is to make sure that you are well.
Mm-hmm.
But it can get to a point where a minister becomes so prideful that they begin to oppose the work of a burden bearer in their life,
Mm.
to the extent that they will begin to undermine what the burden bearer does. At
Mm.
that point, the burden bearer may leave, but
Okay.
they didn't leave because your vision changed. They left because your personality
Was
opposed
contradicting.
their work.
Mm.
And so when you know the person who is for you, when you know that person, that becomes a relationship that
You hold
you
dear.
want to hold for the rest of your life, at least in that vicinity. Because I believe that everybody needs a burden bearer in their life. Life is
Yeah.
too stressful to do it alone.
But
Now,
I feel like in some aspects of that too, like what you're saying with the pride issue. I think sometimes the visionary, the person that's carrying the vision, he or she themselves is not even aware of the role of the burden bearer. They feel like whatever they're doing is they think it's in support of the vision when it's not for that.
so that is where we have leaders have to educate ourselves, and that's where the knowledge component came in. That when you have a vision, you also need to invest yourself in acquiring knowledge. As a matter of fact, I believe it's in Proverbs. I believe it's Proverbs 23:23 that says that buy the truth and sell it not.
Mm.
Truth is in regard to knowledge. So you buy knowledge, you invest in getting knowledge, and it's that knowledge that allows you or influences your ability to be able to decipher the people that come to you. So we talked about the burden bearers, for instance. The other people that are called to
For
you
you.
are called specifically for your vision. And those people are not burden bearers. So you will, I think I can actually maybe give an example, for instance, that there are people that sometimes we will hear leaders say that this person, as far as the work is concerned, will do everything that they need to do for the work to go on, for the business to go on. But they don't care about me as a leader. I'm pretty sure you've heard that before. And yeah, there are people who are called to us because of our vision, and they only come specifically for our vision.
Yeah.
It could be people of connection,
Yeah.
it could be people of influence.
Mm.
These are all types of relationships
Yeah.
that we can have. I think we talked about them beginning of the year when we talked about obtaining relationships for success.
Mm-hmm.
When these people come, they could care less what you are doing in your personal life. all they care about is the vision. And so as long as you are for the vision, it will appear that they are for you. But when you are no longer for the vision, the overall vision, it will
There's
appear
nothing to stand
that,
for,
it will appear they are not on your side.
but
And
they
I think
were.
most of us sometimes make that mistake of thinking that people are not for us, that they are against us, when in actuality, we are the ones who have deviated from the vision.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
before
mm,
we go about pointing fingers, I think one of the things, and this is a healing point, one of the things that we can do to heal our relationships is to ask ourselves, are we still for the same vision that we brought them in for? Because if we are not for the same vision, then maybe we are the ones being disloyal, not the
mm.
people who are leaving us.
Hey, hey. No, but this is so profound, Dr. Joe, because you are speaking into a little bit of my experiences, and
Mm,
I somewhat
mm,
served as what you are defining as a burden bearer, right? So my desire, my hunger, like it was so focused on the welfare of the person, right?
mm,
To the point
mm,
where this person I'm talking about used to travel like 4 hours to a place. And I always felt I knew I could stay home because there's a duty at home that I can stay to attend to. But
mhm,
I kept thinking to myself, what if something happens to them on the way and they
mm,
cannot pick up a phone to call 911? What
mm,
if this?
mm.
And then there is nobody in the area. Like I felt burdened to be there, not thinking maybe if there's an accident, of course you'll be injured too. But for some reason, I felt like I will not be injured. You get what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I needed to be there for that person. And I'm saying this to say that we education is so crucial and we need this. Like how I pray for this to go out, because it got to a point that this person said to me, do you think I need you? Do you?
that's a
And
mistake.
right, do you? Because I think the person sensed in them that I'm acting like they need me.
Mm,
You get what I
mm,
mean? So
mm.
they wanted to put that across. Do you think I need you? Like I can't go by myself. Do you think I can't survive by myself? Like so they began to feel like I'm trying to act like they are insufficient without me. Not knowing I was just acting in this role or
This
whatever.
role.
Right. So it's speaking so much to me, and I think it's so many people, especially in the kingdom of God and servants in the church, that we
Mm.
need to have like we need to have this knowledge. Like we need to draw the lines, you know, so that wherever God has called someone or whoever God has called you to, you can really fulfill that to the end. But like you said, it got to a point I couldn't complete that task, because of that
Because, yes,
opposition.
so at that time, their personality, from your example, their personality started opposing your role to them because
Right.
they did not realize the role you had. They thought that you were for their vision. Meanwhile, you were not for their vision specifically. Yes, maybe the vision may have motivated you to say that this person is doing such a great business, so I want to support them. But when you went to them, you realized that your role was really not what they were doing outside. It was the burden that they carried on their person. And
Mhm.
so I think if they had the right knowledge and the right understanding of what your role was, your role is something they should have kept. And I want us to wrap up on this with this so we can continue our conversation later. But one thing or something that happens when people kind of ignore or they oppose burden bearers and kick them out of their life, one of the dangers is they start surrounding themselves with yes men and yes women, people who will just say yes to them without actually carrying their burden. And so, even though they are surrounded by so many yes men, yes women, or supporters, you will call them, you
Mhm.
see that these people are literally degrading before you because they are now carrying all that burden on themselves. The
Mm.
supporters are not necessarily burden bearers. And I want us to end there. We'll pick up on that next week when
We're
we
gonna have a
pick
part two,
up on
Dr. Joe.
part two.
Oh, all right. I did not know, guys. See the stuff he does not tell me. But yeah, so if Dr. just says we're going to pick it up, we are going to pick it up. This is Hour of Healing. We are so grateful for you guys. And, I encourage you to share, because knowledge is power. And it's not only power for yourself, power for you to be able to manage and maneuver in this life with, people and things like that. And I also encourage you to visit our Instagram page, our hashtag of hashtag healing. All right. That's where you're going to find it. And so I'll hand it over to Dr. Joe as he wraps us up. And I will see you next week. This is Candace. But I'll hand it over to Dr. Joe.
Thank you so much, Sister Candice. And yes, we thank God for how far He's brought us today. And we've laid the foundation for what our conversation is going to be like. But in way of summary, dear listeners, I want you to understand that individualism is not a bad thing. But like everything in life, there are limits or rail guards that needs to be put up. When we talk about individualism, we're talking about the idea of promoting self, the idea of enhancing the individual. It gives us the enablement or the freedom of choice, the freedom to be able to build self-esteem. So these are all good things. But I want you to understand that life is too difficult and too stressful and too long for you to do it alone. You need someone on your side. And so next week, we'll be picking up on who is really on your side on the topic, who is for you. And don't forget, I will be sharing with you how you can hand over every unknown thing in life to someone who is very known. I'll share that with you next week when we pick up on Hour of Healing. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you same time next week. Bye-bye.